You are muted, Vamsi Anna. Just unmute yourself and start.
Sir, just now I called Ram Raghav sir. He is outside itself. In a couple of minutes, he is going to join, sir. Good evening and a warm welcome to all our Nellore branch members. Today, yet again, we are having another nice, beautiful topic on taxation of joint development agreements under Income Tax Act. This joint development agreements, which we are going to be discussed in near future by our faculty, sir, is a very emerging topic, and I hope all the members will be eager to listen the presentation from our faculty, sir. First of all, I would like to thank our faculty Venkat Narayana Vedantam sir for accepting our branch invitation and joining for our VCM program. I would also like to invite first our Nellore branch chairman Sujit Kumar Jain to this program and our Sikasa chairman Sri Lakshmi Prasanna Kumar Garu to our program. Now I would like to ask the members to please raise up so that the Institute motto song will be played by our able.
य एष सुप्तेषु जाग्रति य एष सुप्तेषु जाग्रति कामं 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 कामपुरुषो पुरुषो निर्मिमाणः निर्मिमाणः तदेव शुक्रं तदब्रह्मा तदब्रह्मा तदेवामृतमुच्यते तस्मिन् लोकः शतः सर्वे तदूनात्यति कश्चन एतद्वैता
Thank you, members. Now I request our branch chairman Sujit Kumar Jain to give his opening remarks.
Good evening, members. After a gap of 2 weeks, 3 weeks, we are having a VCM again on a very important topic, that is joint development agreements. After the COVID pandemic, the need for housing has increased in a tremendous manner. So many software professionals who were working outside are coming back to the hometowns and trying to work from here due to one work from home situation in the corporate sector. So as a result of it, the need for housing has increased. So the due to the non-availability of the capital required to buy the land directly, so many real estate developers and the apartment builders are tying up with the landowners under the joint development agreement. So in our day-to-day practice, at least we are seeing 1 or 2 clients who have engaged themselves into the joint development agreements. So when I practically faced one case, when I discussed with 2 chartered accountants regarding the joint development agreements, I got 2 diverse views regarding the point of taxation. Means before getting the completion certificate, if you are selling, what is the position? So one of the chartered accountants said that you have to pay the tax by going back to the year in which the JDA was executed. So thereby the client will lose more money in terms of interest. And one of the chartered accountant had the view, which was a general view and should be the view, that you pay as and when the flats are sold in that year, only relating to the amount of the flat sold. So I thought since I had so much of confusion or lack of clarity on this subject, I thought it will be better topic for our members. So going forward, also we are for the next two sessions, we are planning sessions on one reassessments under Section 148. Due to the changes, the time period has reduced from 6 years to 3 years. And further, many new chartered accountants are setting up practice. So if they get such notice, what should be the way they should go for about it? And the next topic which we are thinking is the penalties when it comes to survey and such assessments. So how to go about it, how to go about the disclosure so that they don't get panic and resort to declarations hastily. So this is the plan of action going forward. One more thing, one of our young chartered accountant is setting up office on 27th October, Hima Hasini and Company Chartered Accountants. From the managing committee's perspective, we wish her all the best for her upcoming practice. With this, I would like to thank the branch for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you, Sujit. Now I request our SICASA chairman, Lakshmi Prasanna Garu, to introduce our faculty to our members.
Good evening. CA Venkat Narayan Vedantam Garu, alias Rahul. He is a chartered accountant from the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India in 2001, and he is a graduate of Commerce from Andhra University. He is a postgraduate of law, currently pursuing MA Psychology. And he is a member Finance Committee in JCI, Junior Chamber International India, from 2017 to 21. In 2018, he is the Zone State President of JCI Andhra State. He is a corporate trainer and relationship counselor. He is a trainer for GMCS of ICI branches. He authored many training manuals alongside compiling 18,000-page goods and service tax. He is a speaker and conducted 95 GST seminars or workshops till date. He is a speaker at various branches of SIRC of ICI, including Ballari, Mysore, Kumbakonam, Rajahmundry, etc. He is a director or faculty of Sri Medha Institutional Institutions. He is a director of Jampeta Cooperative Urban Bank Limited, Rajahmundry. He is a governing body member of the Government Arts College, Rajahmundry. He is governing body member of the Government Degree College, Thuni. And he is district chairman at the Lions Club International. He is a faculty for the Andhra Pradesh Cooperative Urban Banks Federation. He is a faculty for many leadership events of Lions Club International. As a corporate trainer, he handles many sessions to senior level management of various companies and business entities, represents in ITAT and State Tax Appellate Tribunal also. His hobbies are playing badminton, writing articles and manuals, traveling, social service, and driving. He married to Kalyani and they are blessed with 2 kids, Isha and Ishan. And Mrs. Kalyani is also a national trainer. Thank you, sir, and thank you for giving me the opportunity.
Thank you, ma'am. Now the floor is yours, sir.
Thank you very much, dear Chairman, sir, Vamsi Krishna, sir, and Lakshmi Prasanna, ma'am. So the challenge with virtual sessions is we get to see few faces. Sometimes we have the feeling that we interact with our own self. So wherever possible, for whichever chartered accountant it is possible, please turn on your videos so that we have the feeling that we are interacting in a physical mode and not in a virtual mode. So, friends, before I start off, I thank all my gurus, my parents, Lord Venkateshwara, for giving us the position that we are in. Friends, we all know that this topic relates to capital gains. It is joint development agreements. Before we venture into the recent provisions of the joint development agreement, let us get into understanding the history. So as I go along, anywhere anybody has something to interact on, please unmute yourself, feel free, and you can interact then and there. If the topic, if your query relates to the topic that I am discussing, then certainly I will answer then and there, or else we'll take it up at a later part of the session. Okay. So joint development and construction, and those whose fingers are fast to any of the questions that I raise, you can please type into the chat box. That will make the session not one-sided, and it will make it a little interactive and interesting for me also. So friends, we know that construction broadly can be understood in three forms. That is, the revenue sharing model can be understood in three forms. One is you give it outright for construction and you engage a contractor and you pay him money. As the construction goes on, you keep paying him. This is one model in which it is just a contractor relationship. The second method is entering into a joint venture, which is a little dangerous model. If the nuances relating to joint venture association of persons are left unchecked, sometimes we may be assuming that it is not a joint venture, but finally it could end up in a joint venture and finally be assessed as an association of persons, where the tax liability could be higher. This is the second model. And the third model that relates to our topic is joint development agreement. The joint development agreement, as the very phrase suggests, it is joint, and two people are involved in the development of the property. One is the landowner, usually the landowner, and the other person is the builder or the developer. To this extent, we already know, right? Why this joint development model is actually adopted? Most of us are already aware that this is adopted because the landowner does not have experience on hand for construction, or he does not have experience for marketing, even though he can construct, or he is short of cash, or he is busy otherwise. So under these general circumstances, what happens is he gives it on a joint development. That is, he gives it on development to a builder. So friends, I'll share the screen. Right. Right. So this is the session. So we'll broadly understand the contents of the session. Okay. The various contents of the session. First is history of TDI taxation. How did we end up into the new provisions? Okay, where we have to understand history, the various case laws associated with that. The second one is the important definitions relating to TDI. Third one is the actual section that we would be talking today about. It is 45(5)(a), and the various important terms or the glossary of terms that form part of this section. Fourth one will be in an interactive mode with few case studies from my end. Further, your queries also will result in few case discussions. And the various exemptions that naturally flow into the section 54 series. Next one is, I thought we could address these also, depending on the time. One is the conversion of assets, and the other is deemed annual value. Last but not least, a very small provision, 194 IC, which is the TDS relating to the payments which are made in pursuance of the agreement entered into under section 45(5)(a). So these are the general contents. Okay. Now we'll understand why this section at all was necessary. What actually happened, that we will understand. So there was confusion regarding the year of chargeability of tax, that is year when capital gains actually arise. So there was confusion whether it is in the year in which the joint development agreement is entered into. Wherever possible, after a little while, you could just keep your Bear Acts also. If you have the Bear Act with you, you can keep it ready. So that I would be referring to that, though I reproduce on the screen still. The year of taxability, the confusion whether it is the date of the joint development agreement, or whether it is handing over physical possession, or whether it is handing over the general control before or after the physical possession, or it is date of registration of joint development agreement, not the date of JDA. It is date of registration of the JDA, or whether it is on the date of in the year of completion of construction, or whether it is as per the various clauses that determine the word transfer that relates to the charge of capital gains, the various clauses that form part of the joint development agreement that relate to the word or definition transfer. So there was a lot of confusion when this JDA system came into existence, whether in which year do we have to charge, on which date does the capital gains arise. So because of this situation, these provisions were forced, 45(5)(a) was forced to come into existence, especially after prolonged, judicial case laws and many litigations on various fronts, especially because the facts of one case differ from the facts of another case. In most cases, the facts differ from one situation to the other situation. It could be the facts could relate to, obtaining the permissions. It could relate to handing over the possession physically, now handing over the possession physically after the builder gets all the approvals and licenses. Or it could relate, or the various facts could relate to whether the JDA is registered, unregistered, to what extent is the consideration, when does the consideration accrue, when does it change hands, all this. And when does the landowner transfer his share of right in the property? Is it before the completion of construction or after the completion of construction? So depending upon so many such facts, the circumstances used to vary from case to case, which caused a lot of confusion and finally ended up into litigation. Now we'll understand the history. I am representing in short, I am sharing in short on the screen the important case laws and the short conclusion that emanate out of this case laws. Very important case law, Dwarkadas Kapadia. Dwarkadas in the year Dwarkadas Kapadia case related to entering into a JDA in the year 1996, but because of various situations, the possession could be given only in the year 1999. Final possession on paper and physical possession also could be given on paper through an ancillary agreement, and physical possession could be given later. So the issue arose whether it is the date of agreement that determines the taxability to capital gains, or is it the possession? And finally, in this case, Dwarkadas Kapadia case, it was decided that the possession was actually handed over. That is, the transfer actually happened, or part performance, the facility for the part performance of the contract, which is there into subsection 47, That was possible only in the year 1999. That is when the possession was given. This was what the court had to tell. So Dwarkadas Kapadia case is a very famous case, and in fact it said that the court said that the agreement, from the agreement, all the various terms and clauses, they have to be read in conjunction with each other to understand when the transfer actually occurred, and no part of the agreement should be read in isolation. So this is one case, and in this case it said possession, the date of possession is final. It is the year of taxability. Later on, there was an advance ruling, Jasbir Singh Sarkaria. This is a beautiful advance ruling. In this advance ruling, usually in an advance ruling was as good. This advance ruling was as good as any court judgment, because the analysis done in this advance ruling, out of that analysis, final conclusion was possession need not be exclusively given to the developer. Even if the possession is partially given to the developer to enable him to do the part performance of the contract, then that is sufficient. Now, friends, I spoke about part performance of the contract in Dwarkadas Kapadia case and now in Jasbir Singh Sarkaria case also. Now, what is this part performance of contract? That we will see when we see 247, 2 subsection 47 later on in this slide. Okay. So it said in the advance ruling authority said that possession need not be exclusive. It need not be sole possession. It means to say that the possession can be partial control of the property can be to the builder or the developer, and partial control in a form can be retained by the landowner, because until the completion of construction, and if the landowner does not want to give the entire control, then that is up to him. And that was one point that emanated out of Jasbir Singh Sarkaria advance ruling. And it also said that physically possession need not be actually handed over, and the developer, if he is actually ready for the part performance of the contract, then it is as good as part performance. It is not that it should be physically handed over, or even constructive handing over. Even if not physical handing over, constructive possession of the property is also sufficient. And date of GPA is actually the date when the possession allows. So as per the facts that existed in the JDA agreement in Jasbir Singh Sarkaria case, as per those facts, it read those facts and said, from these facts we understand that the date of JDA is the date of handing over. Possession merely because the landowner is retaining an amount of possession or control with him, that does not mean that the developer is not given the possession. Physical possession is not actually required. Constructive possession is also sufficient. From there, it went on to say, from Dwarkadas Kapadia case, we now move on to understanding. In Dwarkadas Kapadia case, we thought possession is sufficient. For those facts and circumstances, possession was sufficient. But for Jasbir Singh Sarkaria case, it said general control for part performance, which means application for all the approvals and licenses. If you are authorizing the developer, and if the developer can execute a part of the contract by means of the landowner allowing him physically into the property and doing the work in the site, which means general control of management and administration, if it is given to the builder or to the developer, then it is as good as transfer. Now, what is allowing possession? That also we will see in 2 subsection 47. So in 2 subsection 47, what are we going to see? We are going to see 2 points. One is part performance. The other is allowing the person to take the control. These two we will see in 2 subsection 47. And later on came C.S. Atwal case, in which they said This is post 2001 situation. In CS Atwal case, Charanjit Singh Atwal case, they said, the court, Ludhiana High Court, they said that general control is also okay, but still for the path performance, because into subsection 47 clause 5 or clause V, what is mentioned is that it is mentioned section 53A of Transfer of Property Act 1882, which means section 53A going into section 53A of Transfer of Property Act, registration is mandatory, read with the local registration laws of 1908. So general control itself is not sufficient after 2001, because in 2001 1908 Act was amended. So registration of the JDA is also mandatory. So registration determines, if it is not registered, then section 53A of Transfer of Property Act is not fulfilled. And therefore the very essential ingredient of 247 clause 5 is partially not fulfilled. Therefore, there is no transfer. In this case, Charanjit Singh CS Atwal case, that was what happened. That was the final decision, which finally had to go to the Supreme Court. And this is a landmark judgment. This is the judgment we have been following. We will continue to follow also. Why I am talking both, why I am saying both. This is what we have been following till now, until 45(5)(a) came. For situations other than 45(5)(a), Balbir Singh Maini case is a landmark case. So what is 45(5)(a) and what is other than 45(5)(a), that also we will get to see. Okay. So till now, anybody has anything to ask? After enactment of registration and other laws, and to ultimately constitute transfer under 244(5), part performance should be in pursuance of a registered agreement or a contract. These are the lines extracted from the Supreme Court judgment in the case of Balbir Singh Maini. Okay. So we will sum up all these. Possession is required. Is possession sufficient? No. General control is also required. Is general control sufficient? No. Registration is also required. Then Balbir Singh Maini case said registration and possession both are required, because without possession, this part performance can't be done. And without registration, 53A cannot be satisfied. Did you get this point? If you have anything to discuss on this, because after this, we can't come back to this. So please clarify any doubt that you have until now, whatever discussion we had, especially relating to these cases. Anybody has, you can please unmute yourself.
I think we can continue, sir. No one has doubts.
Right. Okay. So kindly note down whatever is there on the screen. These are the 4 landmark judgments, and these judgments have to be read in conjunction with whatever is the joint development agreement that you will have on hand relating to your client. This, which fact suit to which case, that analogy you have to adopt. There is no conclusive interpretation except for registration and possession. There is no other conclusive interpretation. For example, registration and possession, as of now, we can think both these would broadly determine the transfer. Okay, would broadly determine the transfer. I am talking about pre-45(5)(a) situation. Okay, I'm talking about pre-45(5)(a) situation and other than 45(5)(a) situation. So now I have one question relating to this. I'll myself ask one question. Registration and possession. We're talking of registration and possession, right? So if possession is given and in the agreement there is a clause which says you can please take the possession after you get the building construction approval from the local authority, from the competent authority, and that is still in process, then possession, is it deemed to have been given?
అదే జైపాల్ హాస్పిటల్ ఏమేమి కావాలి అని ఒకసారి మీకు చెప్పేస్తాను సార్. అంటే వాళ్ళకి అంబులెన్స్ రిసిప్ట్స్ ఉన్నాయి సార్.
Sir, please can you mute yourself, sir?
తర్వాత క్యాజువాలిటీ రిసిప్ట్స్ ఉన్నాయి.
Shravan, please check the participant and mute
Done,
him.
sir. Done, sir. Unmuted.
రైట్. సో నేను తెలుగులో అడుగుతాను. రిజిస్ట్రేషన్ పొజిషన్ ఉంటే ట్రాన్స్ఫర్ జరిగినట్టే అని మనం బ్రాడ్ గా అనుకోవచ్చు. అయితే అగ్రిమెంట్ లో రాసింది ఏమనంటే పొజిషన్ మీకు వస్తుంది కానీ అప్రూవల్ లైసెన్స్ వచ్చిన తర్వాతే అన్నారు. అప్రూవల్ లైసెన్స్ ప్రొసీజర్ లోకల్ మున్సిపాలిటీలో ఇంకా పెండింగ్ టౌన్ ప్లానింగ్ సెక్షన్ లో. సో పొజిషన్ జరిగినట్టేనా అంటే ట్రాన్స్ఫర్ పొజిషన్ ఇచ్చినట్టేనా, తద్వారా ట్రాన్స్ఫర్ జరిగినట్టేనా?
సార్ ఇప్పుడు అట్లాంటి కండిషన్ నాకు తెలిసి ఇంకా బిల్డరే పెడతాడు కదా, తనకి అప్రూవల్స్ అన్ని వచ్చాకే పొజిషన్ వచ్చినట్టు అర్థం కదా.
సో పొజిషన్ వచ్చిన తర్వాతే అని చెప్పని కనుక కండిషన్ పెట్టుకుంటే ఎగ్జాక్ట్లీ. సో పొజిషన్ వచ్చిన తర్వాతే అనే కండిషన్ కనుక పెట్టుకుంటే ఆ కండిషన్ యూజువల్ గా ల్యాండ్ ఓనరే పెడతారు. నువ్వు లైసెన్స్ లో అప్రూవల్స్ అని నువ్వు తెచ్చుకుని నాకు కనిపించప్పుడు నీకు పొజిషన్ ఇస్తాను అని. ముందరే పొజిషన్ ఇస్తే వన్స్ ఈ స్టార్ట్స్ వర్కింగ్ ఆ అప్రూవల్స్ రాకపోతే మళ్ళీ ఇబ్బంది వస్తుంది కదా, అందుగురించి దట్స్ వై. సో ది just is registration, possession, both clauses have to be satisfied in conjunction, and the every joint development agreement basing on the various clauses that these parties have written between themselves, every JDA, the conclusion of every JDA relating to transfer eppudu jarigindi ane conclusion that changes from JDA to JDA. The broad principles have to be adopted from these four cases, especially Balbir Singh Maini's case. Okay. Now we move on to the next one. Retracting 45 in Balbir Singh Maini case, what they said? Yeah.
Excuse me, sir. Sir, ఇప్పుడు సపోజ్ పార్ట్ ఆఫ్ ది బిల్డింగ్ ల్యాండ్ ఓనరే కన్స్ట్రక్షన్ చేశాడు, మేబీ సెల్లార్ కన్స్ట్రక్షన్ అంతా చేశారు. ఆఫ్టర్ దట్ ల్యాండ్ ఓనర్ వచ్చేసి ఓకే ఈ మొత్తం ఎక్స్టెంట్ కన్స్ట్రక్ట్ చేయలేను డ్యూ టు వేరియస్ ఫ్యాక్టర్స్, అప్పుడు జేడీ అగ్రిమెంట్ కి ఎంటర్ అవ్వచ్చా? ఎంటర్ అయినప్పుడు దీన్ని కాస్ట్ కింద కన్సిడర్ చేస్తారా?
ఎంటర్ అవ్వచ్చు. ఎంటర్ అయితే దీన్ని కాస్ట్ కింద కన్సిడర్ చేస్తారు ఫర్ ది పర్పస్ ఆఫ్ కంప్యూటేషన్ ఆఫ్ క్యాపిటల్ గెయిన్స్ రిలేటింగ్ టు ది ల్యాండ్ ఓనర్.
అట్ ది సేమ్ టైం ఈ ప్లాన్ అప్రూవల్స్ అన్ని ఉంటాయి కదా సార్, ఈ ప్లాన్ అప్రూవల్స్ అన్ని అప్పుడు మనం సెల్లార్ కన్స్ట్రక్ట్ చేస్తున్నప్పుడు ప్లాన్ అప్రూవల్స్ అన్ని ఆ ల్యాండ్ ఓనరే అప్టైన్ చేస్తుంటాడు. సో జేడీఏలో ఇవన్నీ ట్రాన్స్ఫరబుల్ కింద క్లాసెస్ పెట్టుకోవచ్చు మనం.
ఆటోమేటిక్ గా పెట్టుకుంటారు, ఎందుకంటే అప్రూవల్స్ తెచ్చుకున్న తర్వాత దే వుడెంట్ రైట్ బికాస్ అప్రూవల్స్ ఆర్ ఆల్రెడీ ఆన్ హ్యాండ్. So another point which was given in Balbir Singh Maini's case was for retracting section 45, which is the charging section for capital gains, income must arise on assumption of transfer of capital asset. Now where is the income arising? Without registration there is no contract. Understand this. Without registration there is no valid contract. Without registration of JDA there is no valid contract, and hence 53A is not satisfied. Thereby when there is no valid contract, it is merely an agreement. If we can recollect the provisions of Indian Contract Act 1872, there is a difference between agreement and contract. So this agreement is an unenforceable contract. So when it is unenforceable, even on the date of JDA or even on the date of handing over the possession, it cannot be treated as transfer because nothing arises validly for a valid enforcement, nothing arises out of this. So in such situation, completion of construction only will determine, that will be the year which will be treated as the year of transfer for the purpose of capital gains. Understood this point? Now these two are the important points that flow out of Balbir Singh Maini's case. Okay. Hypothetical income cannot be taxed under section 45. For example, you did the registration now, you also did the you are yet to give the possession, because merely because you did the registration and you said I am handing over the physical possession without that person getting approvals, and in the agreement, joint development agreement, there is a condition you have to get the approvals. Without that fulfilling, can income arise at all? That accrual concept is not fulfilled. So hypothetical income cannot be taxed under this act, leave alone under section 45. Under any section, hypothetical income cannot be taxed. Okay, so these are the three broad principles that flow out of Balbir Singh Maini's case. Now we move on to the next point to understand what is transfer. Now in this slide, we were talking about part performance of the contract. We were talking about 53A. Now if you turn to your Bayer Act, I am representing on the screen, I am presenting on the screen. Section 2, subsection 47, I did not give clause 1 to 4, I am directly giving clause 5 here. Any transaction involving, first point, loving the possession. That is why in the previous slide in Balbir Singh Maini's case, they said possession is important. Of any immovable property, to be taken or retained in part performance of a contract. Part performance of a contract in the referred to in 53A. What is 53A? Registration. Registration of what? JDA. So if you register JDA, it means that part performance of the contract clause is satisfied. So you have to satisfy two clauses for the JDA to be treated as transfer. This is pre-45(5)A situation, which I'm still discussing. Okay, 2 points. First point is possession, allowing the possession, which can be physical possession, which can be general control. The other point is part performance of the contract. Part performance means registration. So in Balbir Singh Maini's case, is it registration or registration plus possession? Whatever is, which is the conclusion that is given? Conclusion given is registration plus possession. That is in line with 247 clause 5 transfer. Then only transfer would be deemed to have happened. Okay. Now you understand this linkage between, because if there is no transfer, then even though there is a capital asset, there is no capital gains, right? So there should be a transfer. For transfer, these two conditions, in the case of joint development agreement, these two conditions should have been satisfied. Are you getting this? I'm unable to see anybody on the screen except Vamsi Krishna sir. So it is difficult to understand whether people are understanding. There is something in the chat box. In the case of possession, I will just read this if it relates to. In case of possession, in case the possession of handing over is done, will it attract capital gains at that time? At the same time, if the approvals are not through and the JDA has to be cancelled, what will be the position of the landowner if he has to pay capital gains on handing over the possession? Sir, this is a wonderful question. This is what happened in the case of this Atwal, T.S. Atwal case. What happened was, initially they handed over, that was a society. In that society, they handed over, the society collected some monies, and finally that construction could not happen because of various legal issues. So even though JDA was entered into, even though possession was given, basing on the concept of accrual of income, there is no income that accrues. Whatever advance is collected, to that extent it is taxable, leave that alone. But when it is cancelled, the question of enforcing a contract does not arise. So what is 53A? 53 is enforceable registration of an agreement. That registration of agreement is cancelled. So part of 247(5) is not fulfilled, even though one part, that is possession, is fulfilled. So transfer, there is no transfer, and hence capital gains will not arise. Okay. So another part of your question was possession handing over is done. What is handing over is also the question. What is handing over depends on the clauses in the JDA. Handing over does not mean only physically handing over. It also can mean you physically don't hand over, but say you can go and work, and this person for the next 2 months, he's in planning, designing, preparing so many things, then finding buyers for advances, etc. Still, has he taken the possession? Yes, he has taken the constructive possession of the property. So handing over, please don't think it is only physical handing over. It can be the general control over the property also. Hope this query is addressed.
Sir, one more small query, sir. If suppose the landowner has given the possession and the builder got the approvals and he already started constructed, but the JDA was not registered. So what would be the case?
So this is what mostly happens. This is what was happening till now, because all small time people, to avoid the stamp duty, they were not registering the JDA. In such a case, simple, straight conclusion, construction of completion date will be the year of transfer. That's okay. Straight conclusion I'm giving, without any logics. That actually flows out of all these case laws only. I'm still giving an answer directly to the question. However, sir, please refer these 4 case laws. They are very important. Their analogy and logic is very important. Okay. This also we will discuss pre-45(5)(a) how it used to happen, post-45(5)(a) how it's happening. Both we will discuss. Part performance is deemed to have been done only when an agreement is registered. Why is it so? Because 53(a) has to be satisfied. So please note down, if you're taking down notes, allowing possession plus plus registration. These two you please note down. Now in allowing possession, you divide it into 2 parts. Write down general control, physical possession in another part. It could be any of these or both of these. If these 2 points are not satisfied, then in a joint development agreement, 247(5) is not satisfied, therefore it's not a transfer. All right. So we move on to the next point. You are clear with this? Now, few case studies I'll give, and I request the participation of the audience on these case studies. Okay. What precautions there is, Purnachandra Rao sir, direct message to me. What precautions the landlord has to take while drafting a JDA? Sir, in the end, we will take this question. Okay. Because what all has to be borne in mind, there are a list of things that I will share in the end. Please remind me if I forget. So first case study. I request the participation of the audience. You can please type in the chat box or unmute yourself and answer. Which is the year of capital gains? Pre-45(5)(a) era. JDA is done before March. Possession is also given before March. Registration is done after March. Which is the year of capital gains?
Before March, sir.
After March.
Before March.
After March.
After March. Yeah, correct. So after March will be, out of Balbir Singh Maini's case, this is what it said. It said post 2001 situation, registration is mandatory. In the year of registration only, if registration, suppose, for example, before March registration is done, possession is given after March, then 247(5) 1 point is satisfied after March. Then after March only, the year of capital gains. It is transfer, and that only will be the year of capital gains. Okay.
Sir, can we consider directly as whichever is later?
Right. We can consider. We can consider. So another year of capital gains. Land you are showing in work in progress. Agreement is entered into before March. Registration is before March. Possession is after March. Which is the year of capital gains? Simple ga కనిపిస్తుంది.
Possession after March. So automatically capital gains will be after March.
After March. However, please note the land is in work in progress. Work in progress means? Work in progress means, is it stock in trade or a capital asset?
It is a work in progress.
Capital asset.
Work in progress, is it a capital asset, sir? Work in progress is work in progress, raw materials, work in progress, finished goods. They all form part of stock in trade, right?
Stock in trade, yes.
So when somebody is showing it as work in progress, it means that they are already treating it as stock in trade. So will section 45 apply for stock in trade?
No, sir.
Which is
Stock
the charging section?
Charging section should be
Business, section 28.
Business.
Section 28, read with section, of course, read with section 43CA. Okay, 43CA
correct.
also you have to bear in mind. Okay, so the year of capital gains, though possession registration happens, still, because first point land is work in progress, so forget it. It is not a capital asset at all. Okay, because we are talking of capital asset only, and capital gains arises only on capital assets, right? Now, what determines whether it is a capital asset or a business asset? This is something which I wanted to address. Out of my general experience relating to which I've gathered over the last 20 years, I've listed a few points which determine whether it is a capital asset or a business asset. Okay. I see 2 messages in the chat box. Okay. What are the various factors that determine? Okay. Broadly, I'm giving the nature of property sold. What is the classification of the property in your books of accounts? Whether it is below or whether it is above. Below means current assets, above means investments or fixed assets, right? Investment is also a non-current asset, right? So investment or fixed asset, it is a capital asset. Understand? Investment or fixed asset, it's a capital asset, and section 45 would apply. If it is in stock in trade below current assets, then naturally business income. So nature of property sold, that determines length of the time the taxpayer is in possession of the owner of property. You bought it this year only, and immediately you are giving. Then you can choose to put it above or below. You can choose to treat it either ways, as a capital asset or stock in trade, right? So the length of the time you are holding also will determine the intention, your intention, it will determine whether it is a capital asset or a business asset. The frequency and number of operations carried out by the taxpayer. You are buying an asset, selling an asset, buying an asset, and selling the same asset. Then the frequency of the transactions also determines whether it's a capital asset or a business asset, right? You agree with me? Those who agree, if you agree, just put thumbs up like this.
Yes, sir.
Right. The improvements made by the taxpayer to the property. So what are the improvements made? Like, for example, he divided into plots. So when would somebody usually divide into plots? If you have a 1,000 square yard property and you divide it into 200 square yards of five plots of 200 square yards each. I think
marketability, sir.
Marketability, right? Okay, so why do you for marketability? So you can say, I did this for marketability and still want to consider it as capital gains. Or you can say, this is not for marketability. This is because my intention was to treat it as stock in trade. That also you can say. So choice is yours. The way in which you represent the case, that will determine what improvements you have made. That will, you can appropriately link it up. Okay. However, all these points have to be read in conjunction with each other. They do not operate in isolation, mind you. The next
Sir,
point.
a small query.
Yes.
Hello.
Yeah, madam. Go on, madam.
Yeah. Sir, actually, this is regarding a client. He deals in constructing apartments and selling them. Actually, he has done 2 projects. The first project was over. The sale was over. He has closed it. Everything is over. He started another project. On a request of one of the customer, what he has done is, the customer was of the old apartment. He sold the old apartment in exchange of the new apartment, a flat in a new apartment. The firm purchased one of the flat in the old apartment and sold apartment in the a flat in the new apartment to the customer. So what could be the nature of the new, old flat in the old apartment?
Old asset purchased by this person.
Okay.
This intention only that person has to tell. The buyer has to tell. That is, the builder has to tell. So he has to seek your guidance, appropriate guidance, and you have to find out whether you bought this. First question is whether it is bought in exchange. I think you are in mobile as well as laptop. There is a double sound.
No. I'm just using this earbuds. I'll just remove and speak directly. Yeah.
So if he's acquiring this property in exchange of the other property, then his intention has to be understood. Whether he wants to retain this or whether he wants to sell this property. Because mind you, understand this very carefully. You are giving 101 in one property for 102 in another property, right?
Yeah.
Right. So if you are doing this, what is your intention in acquiring 102? Do you want to use it as your office? Which means that if you are exchanging this, then the consideration would automatically result in you treating your stock in trade as a capital asset. Or you are taking that 102 to sell it off again later. Then it is not stock in trade into capital asset, it is stock in trade into stock in trader.
Okay.
Did you get this point?
Yeah. Actually, this transaction happened 2 years earlier, but still it's in the books of the.
So better don't take any chance and better classify it as stock in trade. Okay. Because or otherwise in that tier of exchange or barter, just in case there is no other cash consideration passing between them, and it is a mere barter in the document, in the title deed, then it could result in the assessing officer saying that this is a stock in trade converted into capital asset if you classify that old 102 under the head fixed assets.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
So the circumstances surrounding the sale of property, if circumstances means if you are buying another property so that as a whole this can be developed, it shows that your intention is business intention. So various other circumstances, and the taxpayer's intention at the time when the property is acquired as indicated by the taxpayer's actions. So these points broadly determine whether it is a capital asset or it is a stock in trade. Now, why this point I am discussing in pre-45(5)(a) era? Because sometimes in the balance sheet, we would classify it as a capital asset. And for example, he sells that capital asset as for 40 lakhs registration value, sub-register office value, stamp duty value, and he has no other income. And he receives naturally in check only, he can't take it in cash. So 40 lakhs, you want to just charge 6% on that as a business income. Mind you, you treated it as a capital asset all the while, and suddenly you want to adopt it under the business head under 6%, as if it is a stock in trade. Then you could get caught, right? So these points are important. And first you have to check and decide whether this is a capital asset or it is a stock in trade for the SSC, which he was disclosing in the previous years, right?
Sir, one more thing I would like to add on here is people, maybe some of the young practicing chartered accountants are of the view that if you show 6%, it is enough, but it is necessary for you to justify the 94% expenditure.
Right.
So that is getting lost in translation, I think.
Right. I am not going into that part.
Okay.
I am just saying 6% just for the sake of discussion. Okay. So this whether current asset or business assets, this point you are clear. Shall we go ahead? This sir is talking. What is his name? Chalapati Rao sir is talking. Then somebody else is also talking. Purnachandra Rao sir is talking. He's on mute. Is he talking to us?
Sir, Purnachandra sir. Sir, you are not audible.
Sir, మీరు పూర్ణచంద్రరావు గారు మీరు మాట్లాడుతుంటే అన్మ్యూట్ చేసుకోండి, దయచేసి అన్మ్యూట్ చేసుకోండి స్క్రీన్ మీద.
శ్రావణ్, ఒకసారి సార్ని అన్మ్యూట్ చేసి శ్రావణ్. శ్రావణ్
సార్కి రిక్వెస్ట్ పంపించాను సార్, ఆస్క్ టు అన్మ్యూట్ అని, బట్ క్లిక్ చేయట్లేదు సార్.
పూర్ణచంద్రరావు గారు అక్కడ ఉన్న ఎవరినైనా పిలిచి కొంచెం అన్మ్యూట్ చేయమని అడగండి సార్. ఇన్ ద మీన్ వైల్ విల్
కాల్ చేస్తాను.
అన్మ్యూట్ అయింది ఇందాక, కొంచెం బ్రీఫ్ కి మళ్ళీ ఏమైందో తెలియదు.
ప్రొసీడ్ అవ్వండి సార్. ఈ లోపల శ్రావణ్ అది సెట్ చేస్తాడు, తర్వాత సార్తో క్వైరీ టేకప్ చేస్తారు.
సో విత్ దిస్ వి అండర్స్టాండింగ్ దిస్ pre-45(5)(a) era, we move on to 45(5)(a). 45(5)(a) introduction finance bill 2017 lo introduction lo this was what given. They said we want to remove this confusion, especially for small time people. Small time people ante like individuals etc. వీళ్ళందరికీ కూడా కన్ఫ్యూజన్ వస్తుంది. రాంగ్ ఇయర్ లో క్యాపిటల్ గెయిన్స్ కడుతున్నారు, మళ్ళీ 143(3) లోను లేకపోతే 148 నోటీసులు వచ్చి ఇబ్బంది అవుతుంది వాటిలో అని చెప్పి, విత్ వ్యూ టు మాక్సిమైజ్ ది జనరల్ హార్డ్షిప్ వాళ్ళు ఏం చేశారంటే, మే ఫేస్ పేయింగ్ క్యాపిటల్ గెయిన్స్ ఇన్ ద ఇయర్ ఆఫ్ ట్రాన్స్ఫర్. ట్రాన్స్ఫర్ అంటే ఇప్పుడు దట్ ఈస్ ది కన్ఫ్యూజన్ ఆర్ దట్ ఈస్ ది క్వశ్చన్. Capital gain shall be chargeable as income of the previous year in which certificate of completion for the whole or part of the project is issued by the competent authority. This is the explanatory memorandum. In the year in which the project for the part or full is completed. Ante construction completion certificate issued by the competent authority aithe aa year lo tax padutundi annaru. The capital gain shall be chargeable to tax as income of the previous year. Now what can we understand from this? We can understand that transfer happens actually in 1 year, whereas chargeability to tax happens in another year. Student, ఇంతకాలం ఇన్ని సంవత్సరాలు 1961 నుంచి ఇప్పటిదాకా ట్రాన్స్ఫర్ ఎప్పుడో టాక్సేషన్ కూడా అప్పుడే. కానీ సడన్ గా 45(5)(a to remove the difficulties, it has come up with a new perspective and says transfer maybe you did this year possession agreement and all, but agreement registration, possession, physical, general control, everything now, but on completion only you have to pay capital gains. Student, this is what 45(5)(a is, and there is something inherent in this. Enti 2021, now we are entering into a 21-22 financial year, we are entering into a joint development agreement, and completion happens in the year 2026, for example, after 5 years, or 2024, right? After 3 years the construction happens. So indexation eppadaka teeskovali? Only till the year of transfer. So 3 years back work indexation teeskovali. Indexation benefit is lost for 3 years, right? So this is the inherent provision that is there in this. Now why did this come? This came up because people were saying, if I register now, if I give the possession now, then you are asking me to pay tax now. If I had that money, I would have done the construction myself. Because I didn't have the money, I am asking somebody else to construct, and that fellow is handing over to me after 3 years. You are asking me to pay the tax now, which is impossible. So to remove that mismatch of cash flows, this is the provision, explanatory provision that came up, and this is in the memorandum, and this is the actual section now which I am displaying on the screen. Okay, that is notwithstanding anything contained in subsection 1. This is it starts with a non-obstante clause. What is notwithstanding anything contained in subsection 1? What is subsection 1? What is subsection 1 of section 45, which is the charging section? What is subsection 1? It says, this is what is the subsection. It is visible on the screen, right? So it says, any profits or gains arising from the transfer of capital asset effected in the previous year shall be chargeable to income tax under the capital gains in the year in which transfer took place. So 45(1) says, in the year of transfer eppudu chesaro appude capital gains tax 45(1). Transfer eppudu chesaru? Registration plus possession. Registration plus possession eppudu? 2021. మామూలుగా అయితే 45(1) ప్రకారం we need to pay tax in this current year 21-22 financial year only. మామూలుగా అయితే, but 45(5)(a) has come and it says forget 45(1) for the time being. In the case of joint development agreements, this is for JDAs only, not other cases. In the case of joint development agreements, year of transfer will not match with the year of taxability. This is what, in short, it says. Okay, which means that 45(1) is not applicable. And it further goes to say, for an individual or HF, so 45(5)(a), is it applicable to a partnership firm or a company or an LLP or AOP or a society? No. This is only for small people who have some 500 square yards, 1000, 2000 square yards, and they want to give it on development. For small people, only to them 45(5)(a) is applicable. To individuals and HFs. Okay. Now, transfer of a capital asset. Which capital asset 45(5)(a) is talking about? Land or building or both. So if you are transferring a land or building or both, which is a capital asset, then only section 45(5)(a) is applicable. Now, what you are doing is rural agricultural land. Hello, just pay attention. Rural agricultural land. Rural agricultural land. Now you are giving it on a joint development agreement. You are an individual. You are giving it on joint development agreement for the construction of 100 apartment, 100 flats, for the construction of 100 flats. So will 45(5)(a) apply? Will 45(5)(a) apply? Chalapati sir. Unmute yourself, sir. Please unmute yourself. లేదు మీ వాయిస్ రావట్లేదండి, మీరు ఎనేబుల్ చేసుకోవాలి. మీ వాయిసే రావట్లేదు, మీరు అన్మ్యూట్ లో ఉన్నారు కానీ మీ వాయిస్ రావట్లేదు, మీ స్పీకర్స్ ఆఫ్ లో ఉన్నట్టున్నాయి. ఎస్ సార్. ఆర్ ఎనీబడి ఎల్స్ ఆల్సో. పొట్నూరు సార్. 100 ఫ్లాట్. ఎందుకు నో సార్?
It is not a capital asset. Rural agricultural land is not a capital asset.
Not a capital asset, exactly. So you have to bear in mind, first thing is individual HF only. Second thing is it should be a capital asset. Third thing is such capital asset should be a land or building or both. Anything other than that, 45(5)(a) is not applicable to shares, to any other rights in land, etc. It is only land or building or both. Okay. Next, under a specified agreement. Now, what is a specified agreement? That definition is also given. That we'll see. But specified agreement forms a very important part of 45(5)(a). Okay. I'll discuss that later. The capital gains shall be chargeable in the previous in which certificate of completion is issued by the competent authority, either for whole or in part. So this is C. You can see 45(5)(a) on the screen. You can see 45(1) also on the screen. In 45(1), in the year in which transfer took place. In 45(5)(a), in the year in which certificate of completion is issued by the competent authority. For example, there are 2 apartment blocks which the builder is constructing. One apartment block is already complete and certificate of completion is issued. Then for that block, we need to charge capital gains when we get the certificate of completion for that block specifically. Understand? That is what it means. Okay. So till here, this is the definition. So what are the important parts of this definition? One is individual HF, capital asset, land building only, specified agreement. We'll see what is specified agreement, then completion certificate. And this is something very important. Now, what is taxable under section 45? Full value of consideration, right? Full value of consideration is defined in 48, which says the stamp duty value, please follow very carefully. The stamp duty value on the date of issue of such a said certificate, means competent certificate, competent authority certificate. On that date, whatever is the stamp duty value of his share, whose share, landowner's share, whatever is getting. For example, I'll just stop this here. You are giving for construction of 4 flats. 1 flat to the builder, 3 flats to you. What is your share? 3 flats is the share. So 3 flats share being land or building or both in the project. So are you getting back? Are you getting 3 flats and the land associated with those 3 flats or not? Yes. So 3 flats superstructure plus 3 flats related share in land. This is treated to be full value of consideration. Now, what is this, sir? What is this? That land is already mine. That land is mine. And they are saying that share of land or building or both. Am I getting back my own land? Is my land being treated as consideration for me? Yes. Why? Because this section is assuming that on the date of transfer, you are transferring the entire property to the builder, unlike in 45(5)(a), pre-45(5)(a) situation. Okay. In pre-45(5)(a) situation, what you used to do for this one, what did you give to the builder? You gave only 1/4 share of land. That only you used to value and treat as full value of consideration. But now it is totally reversed. Instead of 1/4, you have to treat full value of consideration 3/4 as full value of consideration. See how much of capital gain is going to increase for individual and HUF under this. Of course, subject to section 54 series exemptions. 54 or 54F as may be applicable, because he may be giving a house which may be dismantled and constructed, or he may be giving a site. So 54 or 54F. Okay. So shall be deemed to be the full value of consideration. Another deeming section. Yeah, Putnuru sir.
Sir, as you said that once the completion certificate issued by the competent authority, then only the applicant will be chargeable for the tax. Suppose, you know, in one of our client case, what happened, the completion certificate was not issued till now, but he sold one property, sir, in the year 2021, financial year 2021.
Do you have the Bare Act with you?
Sir?
Do you have the Bare Act with you now? Bare Act, Income Tax Act unda మీ దగ్గర?
Income Tax
Act, okay.
Yes, sir.
That question also I'll address certainly. However, Income Tax Bare Act ఉన్న వాళ్ళు ఈ క్వశ్చన్ కి ఆన్సర్ చూడండి. మనకి తిరిగి అది వచ్చే కంప్లీషన్ సర్టిఫికేట్ వచ్చే లోపలనే మనం కనుక డిస్పోజ్ చేస్తే 45(5)A అప్లికబుల్ అవ్వదు అని ప్రొవైజో టు 45(5)A లో ఉంటుంది అనమాట. సో ప్రొవైజో ప్రొవైడెడ్ దట్ this section, the provisions of section this shall not be applicable where before the issue of completion of construction of completion certificate by the competent authority, the right in the property or the property itself is disposed by the landowner and cheppani untadi anamata. Okay.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Right. So now I think if you are noting it down, then please note down pre 45(5)A, post 45(5)A in two sides of the book. Pre 45(5)A, 1/4 that is equal to builder's share of land is equal to full value of consideration. Please note down on the other side. For post 45(5)A situation, 3/4 share in land plus 3/4 share in construction is equal to full value of consideration. Right? This is the full value of consideration. So both are entirely different. Okay.
So can you repeat the pre-45(5)A, the consideration?
Pre-45(5)A it is builder's share in land. What did you sell? What did you give to the builder?
Land, sir.
How much land? 1/4.
Yes.
Did you give the house to him?
1/4 it means only land only I give.
Correct. You did not give house. House he only built. So 1/4 land only was your full value of consideration. Market value. Right?
Right, sir.
Right. So this is 45(5)A. Okay. This is the text of this section. And in the explanation.
But three houses are coming now, sir. That has to be added. 1/4 share in land plus 3/4 3 flats value. Construction value has to be added, which is specified in the JDA.
No, we did not do that. We are giving you for those 3 constructed houses which is giving to us, we are giving him 1/4 land.
Okay.
Okay, so that is the consideration. We are not getting 3. See, what is the value of 3 houses? 3 houses value equal to 1/4 land, or else you will not enter into that agreement.
Agreed. Yes.
Right.
So only 1/4 value in land. Okay.
Right. Yeah, that is what we were doing till now.
Okay.
Okay. So we move on to the next point. Next point is 45(5)A. This proviso I already explained when Putnuru sir asked. So proviso nenu display cheyatledu. I'm going directly to the explanation. In the explanation, we talk of competent authority. We know competent authority, town planning officer or DTCP approval or whatever that is. Okay. Now specified agreement. Here in this definition, we saw specified agreement, right? Right. Here in this definition, we saw under a specified agreement. Now, what is a specified agreement? That is given in explanation, which is very important. Specified agreement means, this is a very important part for you people to understand, for us all to understand what 45(5)A is. Okay. Specified agreement means a registered agreement. First one, registered under what? 53(A) of Transfer of Property Act, in which a person owning land or building or both agrees to allow. What is agrees to allow? Can somebody tell? What is agrees to allow? Agrees to allow is equal to. We already discussed.
Agrees by way of the agreement, sir. The permission.
Agrees to allow ante possession. Agrees to allow another person means possession. Two things: registered agreement, possession. Are rendu ikkada unnaya leva?
Unnai.
Balbir Singh Maini's case ade kada. So registered agreement plus agrees to allow. Agrees to allow means giving possession to develop a project. Okay. In consideration of a share, very important. In consideration of a share, what if there is no share and he is paying outright? What if there is no share and he is paying outright money? Will it be joint development or will it be outright purchase and sale?
Outright purchase and sale.
So ikkada share anedi undali. Okay, share in the developed property. Partial consideration cash lo undachu, no problem. But share untene joint development avutundi, lekapothe it is 45(5)(a) ne applicable kaadu. Right? So 3 points out of the specified agreement. One is checked if it is a registered agreement. Second, did he give possession? Third, share ane dantlo rasunda. Then it becomes specified agreement. If it is specified agreement, then it is 45(5)(a). 45(5)(a) subject to it is a capital asset, individual and HF clause also being satisfied. Okay. Now this is the entire gist of 45(5)(a). When is it taxable? Not in the year of transfer, but in the year of completion certificate. Right? Now you got this point. And what is the value on which tax is chargeable? Whatever the landowner gets. What is he getting? 3/4 superstructure he is getting. Out of the 4 flats, 3 flats is getting 3/4 superstructure. What is the presumption? Presumption is that 3/4 land also is getting back. Why? Because it is already transferred 2 years ago. That land is already treated as transferred 2 years. Are you clear with this? Basing on this, I will ask more questions. Okay. Now let us answer these questions, these points. Okay. What if the total consideration is in cash? The total consideration is in cash.
Entire amount is chargeable for tax, sir.
Okay, 45(5)(a) is applicable, or what is the charging section?
It's not a JDA.
Section is 45, sir. Section 45.
45(1), right? It is 45(1), right?
Okay.
It is not 247(5), it is 247 clause 1 or 2 or 3. Right? It is not 247 clause 5. Now see what is 247 definition. If you have the Berat, just check what is 247. Relinquishment of an asset, extinguishment of right in an asset, etc. All those. Okay. What is the consideration when a builder gets 1/4 share in a construction of 4 floors or 500 square yards?
3/4 of superstructure and 3/4 of land.
What is the consideration when a builder gets 1/4 share in construction of 4 floors?
So as you said, 375 square yards land value plus 3 floors construction value.
Right, very good. And value as on which date?
Value as on the date of the completion certificate. When
exactly,
it is
the stamp duty value as on the date of completion certificate. Now, what is the stamp duty value? How do we arrive at the stamp duty value? It can be a market value. It can be stamp duty value. In case of any difference, in case of any differences, you can even go for valuation and say that is the stamp duty value, right?
Yes.
Right. In which year should landowner pay the tax?
The year in which the completion certificate
is issued. Right. On how many square yards can we claim indexation? Can the landowner claim indexation?
On entire 500 square yards.
Very good. On entire property. Because he has transferred the entire. Now we'll go back to the basic. What did he transfer? It is treated as transfer. Now what is treated as transfer? 500 square yards is treated as transfer. I told you already. So when 500 square yards is transferred, then cost of acquisition of the 500 square yards we have to index cost of acquisition we have to take. Okay. And the landowner take 54F exemption.
Sir, if it 54 it is not available because it is land, that is ruled out. 54F it is land available, but since he is getting more than one flat, 54F exemption will also not come, sir, because he is getting, I am assuming 3 flats because it is in 3 floors.
Right.
So no exemption under 54F.
So shall we discuss that 54 one a residential house, one residential house also now? Shall we discuss that?
Yes, if by assuming that he is transferring a house or a building, residential building, which
so
he has demolished.
We'll just stop this here. We will discuss that also. Okay. I'm just
Yes.
stopping the screen share. Okay. Now, now earlier how it was? What was happening? What was happening is sell one, buy one, right? Sell one, buy one. Then sell two, buy one was also permissible. You agree? Sell two, buy one was also permissible. Okay. Sell one, buy many, was it permissible? Sell one, buy many, was it permissible?
Previously, it is there.
Yes, sir. I think before Finance Act 2015, it was permissible. After which one residential house, a residential
Very
house,
good, very
that
good. Okay.
terminology has come.
Right. Now we will discuss what that provision is. Okay. What actually happened in the various case laws that are there. The first case law relating to this very landmark judgment was Anand Basappa case. You must be knowing this. You can write it down. Anand Basappa case, Karnataka High Court. Okay. Anand Basappa case. In Anand Basappa case, what happened was he took two flats, 101, 102. And both of them, he broke the wall and he joined both of them. He broke the wall and he joined both of them. And he said, and the assessing officer naturally disallowed one flat. Then he went to the court. He said, I am treating both of them as a single house only, because it is totally joined. I wanted the consideration that is given to me, the value of consideration. It is 1 crore that should be given to me. And 1 lakh is one house is worth only 50 lakhs. So that he has given two flats and he has not even constructed the wall. 101, 102, I am utilizing as a single house only. Then Karnataka High Court said, okay, you take the benefit. So here, sell one, buy two, that was given. Okay. Then later on, in a Bombay High Court case, what happened? This is 101, 102. Bombay High Court case, 101, 201. He said, I didn't want a wide house. I want a duplex house. So he got 101, 102, 101, 201, and he broke the roof and he constructed stairs. He said, what if the house is adjacent to me or on top of me? It is the same. We are using it. Same people are residing. Then Bombay High Court was confused. It said, okay, you take it. Correct. Fair enough. What? The location, geographical location of the second unit will not determine the exemption. Whether it is on your head or whether it is next to you, it is the same. So Bombay High Court also gave. Then in another case, what happened was he got 101, 202, 303, 404. 101, 201, you can say it is duplex. Or maybe 101, 201, 301, you can say it is triplex, if that ever exists. But he got 101, 202, 303, 404. Then the chartered accountant or the council was very smart. He said, all of us stay in this apartment block only. We have only one kitchen in all these 101, 201, etc., 202, etc. We have only one kitchen. All of us cook food in one place only. And all of us sleep in one flat only. And we all of us staying in different floors have a single ration card. And all of us are listed on the same Aadhaar card. So what if this fulfills the ingredients of a house, of a residential house? You should have a kitchen. You should have other utilities. And all these are being commonly used by everybody. It is not that father's family is living in 101, son's family is living somewhere and some other is living in 303, etc. No. That chartered accountant logic was accepted. That was accepted. They said, okay, you take. Then the change to the act came in 2015. They replaced the word A with 1. Nothing more happened. What happened was A, the letter A was replaced with 1 in section 54. That is what they did. So A and 1 That change was brought. However, definition of the residential house, did they change? They did not bring any definition of the residential house, which means that Anand Basappa case, the analogy that is there, and one more landmark judgment, Geeta Duggal, Delhi High Court. Geeta Duggal case, please note down. In that Geeta Duggal case also, they said, yeah, it is permissible. Now, what happened in Geeta Duggal case? They said, and another case, Fatima Bai, please note down. In these cases, what they said, when Mukesh Ambani, he can have 29 floors, 30 floors of house. How are you restricting me to have 4 floors of one house? When Mukesh Ambani files his return and says, I constructed a house with 29 floors, how are you restricting? And the court again got confused. It said, okay, chalo. In Geeta Duggal case, what happened was 2 apartment blocks. Both, one was self-occupied and the other was let out. See the complication. The other was let out. And they claimed. And they said it is a residential house. Then the assessing officer said, you let it out. You are not using it. So it went to the court. Then the Delhi High Court in Geeta Duggal case, it said, the utility of the house, whether by self or by somebody, is not decided in law. It is not fixed in law. The law does not say it has to be, the law only says it should be a residential house. It does not say it should be a residential house and should be used by the SSC. That is not there. So they said, okay, chalo, one self-occupied, one let out. Still 101, 102. Still you give both. Exemption section 54. Right? So despite the change in law, which is, in my opinion, not a very big change, A to 1, it does not in any way defeat the analogy or logic that is given in these case laws. You can also please go through these case laws. Okay. So now we will come back to our screen share. Sujit sir, is that okay? Purnachandra Rao, Chalapati sir, Potnuru sir?
Yes, sir. Am I audible now?
Yeah, you are audible. Who sir? Yeah.
Purnachandra Rao.
Purnachandra Rao. Yeah, you are audible. Sir. So I am sharing the screen once again. So can the landowner take 5454F exemption? Yes. Which cases to follow? Anand Basappa case, Geeta Duggal case. Okay, these 2 cases and Fatima Bai case also. You can follow all these 3 cases. You just check.
Sir, can you share the citations also?
Sir, I will share the citation to the chairman, with the chairman. I've got that document also ready, Word document. I'll share that Word document which can be shared in your WhatsApp group. Kindly note down, sir, if you type in the internet, Geeta Duggal, Delhi High Court capital gains, you will get that case. Still, I will share. After this session, I will share with Sujit Kumar, sir.
So the situation is, sir, if you are getting like 4 flats or 5 flats, so you can go for 54F.
My opinion is yes, sir.
Okay.
That flows out of the analogy given in all these case laws. This analogy is not redundant merely because of replacement by A by 1. Okay.
Okay. So any cases which have gone, sir, on 45A and have been done, sir, means after this Finance Act 2015 amendment, A has become 1, after which any cases have come on this, sir?
So no reported cases.
No reported cases. Okay.
Sir, the requirement is that they should be in a single premises, right?
Yeah, of course, that is required. That is required.
Yeah.
Because the ingredient of house should be fulfilled. Right? What is a house? One which has kitchen, washroom, bedroom, hall, living, etc., living place, etc. So if you say my house is here as well also there, then it doesn't make sense. That is not accepted.
But it is when it is in more than one block, but within the same compound, will that beneficial provision can be extended? A block, B block,
it is not
C
discussed
block.
it is not discussed in any of these case laws, sir.
Okay.
So I don't think you can stretch the imagination to that extent.
Okay.
Sir, just a small doubt.
Sir, adagandi.
Bangalore Tribunal lo judgment ఒకటి ఇచ్చారు.
Sir, in this question, whether the land
No. Sir, Purnachandra Rao sir is on floor. Kindly. And voice low.
Bangalore Tribunal కేసులో రెసిడెన్షియల్ హౌస్
సార్ పూర్ణచంద్ర సార్
వినిపిస్తోందండి. చెప్పండి సార్, చెప్పండి.
It is different from residential unit, they said. So the landlord got about 40 apartments in one house, one entire building. There, the tribunal gave a judgment saying that residential unit is not a residential house. Entire building is a residential house. That's the stand that tribunal has taken. I may get the judgment copy soon. But this tribunal judgment, will it be valid in other states?
Sir, already in the Geeta Duggal case also, similar Anand Basappa case also, similar analogy is applied, wherein they said a residential house can comprise of many residential units. So this is also a similar one, which you are quoting. Right. What if TDS is done in JDA year? What is TDS? In the case of joint development agreements, now you can go to 194 IC. Right? In the case of joint development agreements, 194 IC, that 10% of the cash consideration, whatever is given in cash, that has to be done. For example, in 2021, you take 1 crore as advance and it is completed in 2024 and you have TDS this year, but you don't have any income this year because the chargeability to tax is in 2024. So what to do? You can just keep postponing the TDS. Okay? Bear this in mind also. Merely because he has some other income, just don't claim it as refund. You can correlate it to 2024 year. Do we have to deposit advance in capital gains account scheme? Going by the same question, now we receive 1 crore as advance. After 3 years, it gets completed. This 1 crore, do we have to deposit in capital gains account scheme? Can you answer, please?
No, sir. Because the transfer has not taken place. So capital gains does not arise and then there is no need for the exemption.
Correct, Sujit sir. Correct. Actually, partially correct because transfer has taken place, but taxability does not arise now. Okay. So the question of depositing, there is no capital gains now. The capital gains arises in 2024 only. So question of deposit does not arise. Okay. What if different blocks get completed in different years? I have already answered. There are 4 blocks, apartment blocks, 4 get completed in 4 different years. So accordingly, the capital gains is chargeable in spread over all these 4 years. Okay. So this is 45(5)(a) in broad. This is 45(5)(a) in broad. Now, I have few other issues also to address, not relating to 45(5)(a), but still relating to capital gains. Okay.
Sir, one small question, sir. In your questions in JDA, can the SSC take a 54 or 54F, sir? Finally, what is the conclusion, sir?
Sir, I have already given the conclusion that he can take. Merely because 45(5)(a) has come, it will not deny him 54(F) exemption. Right?
Okay.
This is one point. So when can it be denied? When can it be denied? In all situations, let us discuss all situations when it can be denied. One is conditions of 54 are not satisfied, having 1 residential house, recent, that 2 crore and all. Okay?
Yes, sir.
That is one situation. Having only 1 residential house, that's all. That is one situation. The second situation, if the transferee, if it is not a capital asset, if he is treating it as stock in trade, then naturally 54 cannot be taken. Benefit of 54 cannot be taken. Right? Third, benefit of 54 cannot be taken when he transfers the property even before completion.
Yes.
Naturally, capital gains under 45(5)(a) will not arise. It will arise under a different section. It can arise under a different section. So under 45(5)(a), 54 exemption cannot be taken. Right?
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Okay. So now the question is, sir, you spoke about individual and HUF. Now, can we discuss about what if a partnership firm is there? I will ask few questions. Okay. One is a partnership firm. There is a partnership firm. The partnership firm acquired some property. So taxation as per which section? Taxation as per which section? 45(1), right? 45(1) only, not 45(5)(a). It does not apply to a partnership firm. Now, you are entering into a joint develop. You are an individual. You have a land, and you also have a partnership firm with your wife. You are using this site and giving JDA to the partnership firm. How do you treat such a situation? Because this happens most of the times, no? It happens. You have a closely held partnership firm and you give it to development to that firm.
But is it necessary, sir? He can simply contribute as capital.
Right. He is contributing it as capital. Good. So contributing it as capital, which section applies? 45(3).
Yes. So
yes.
No capital gains if it is recorded at the book value.
If it is recorded at
the book value or at the cost which the partner has acquired, the same value.
Right.
Yes. But if it is recorded at a higher value, then capital gains will arise. Partner has to pay the tax.
Right. We will just stop there. He is recording. He acquired a property for 10 lakhs, one land. For 10 lakhs only, he is transferring to the partnership firm as capital under 45(3).
Yes.
What will be the taxability of this situation? Other than Sujit sir, you just answered. Somebody can give a different answer. What do we have to check? This is a very important point which we can miss. Very dangerous.
So the value which is recorded in the partner's capital account?
The value which is recorded in the partner's capital account is what is recorded in his personal books. Personal books he bought at 10 lakhs. Now he is introducing in 10 lakhs only. That is what Sujit sir says. So what sections we have to check while doing this? Purnachandra Rao sir, please unmute yourself. Chappan sir, Purnachandra.
One view can be 50C and 56 to 10.
Right, 56 to 10, very dangerous. 50, that can become income in the hands of firm. If its sub-register office value is 50 lakhs today, and you are introducing it at 10 lakhs, then 40 lakhs can become the income of the partnership firm. Right? So very dangerous. So be careful while introducing land as capital into a partnership firm. Okay. Now, another situation. Sir, so a builder, he constructs, he gets out of 10 flats, he gets 4 flats. Builder, he gets 4 flats. Out of 4 flats, he sells away 3 flats and retains 1 flat for his office. What is the situation?
Capital gains has to be paid on all the 4 flats because it is not a residential purpose. He cannot go for 54 or 54F exemptions. He has to pay on the entire amount, whatever the land and constructed value is there. Okay,
this is one perspective. I am not differing much with this. Another perspective, for a builder, the flat which he gets, yes, correct, it is stock in trade. If he's using it for office, then straight away go to 28 clause 6. 28 clause 6 small a, V1A, 28 6A, which can become a stock in trade converted into a capital asset. Which can become stock in trade converted into a capital asset. Now, what will happen when stock in trade is converted into a capital asset? The fair market value will become income under section 28. The fair market value will become income under section 28, which means if it is a 30 lakh flat, which is showing in fixed assets from stock in trade, then 30 lakhs flat, straight away, it will become income. So next question is, what are the other benefits out of this? What are the benefits out of this? One benefit is you can claim depreciation. You will get depreciation benefit lifelong. What is the second benefit? Because your stock in trade in the trading account reduced by 30 lakhs, automatically profit also will reduce by 30 lakhs. Of course, it is compensated by P&L account income of 30 lakhs, section 28 income. But still, stock in trade is reduced by 30 lakhs, right? Then it is compensated, right? However, your cost of construction can be lesser, thereby marginal profit will be there on that flat, okay? That marginal profit will be treated as business income, which is almost equal to flat being sold by you to your own self, okay? It is profit that accrues on a flat that is being sold by you to your own self, okay? You got this point?
Sir, how to record it in book, sir? Whether it is to be shown under sales or
simple journal entry. Simple journal entry. That's all. Simple journal entry of transfer of the stock in trade to the capital account, credit to capital account, debited to fixed asset.
Okay. Okay, sir. So it will come under only computation of income. The profit will not increase. Because since only fixed asset is being added and the capital account is treated.
Ultimately, that is how it will happen. Ultimately, that's how it will happen. Okay.
Only the net profit will not go up, but it will be added in the
net
income.
Profit automatically will go up to the extent that he sold this flat. He must have constructed this flat, incurred only 25 lakhs. On the debit side of P&L account, only 25 lakhs would have been there. Now, when we treat 30 lakhs as income, naturally, what will happen on the difference? 5 lakhs tax is automatically that net profit is shot up. So you do the calculation, you will get to know that in detail. Okay. So few more questions I thought I could ask. So what about tax planning, sir? Already somebody did this already a few years ago. Already 2 years ago, he entered into a joint development agreement. He did not register that agreement. He did not register. He should have paid tax on that. At that point, he did not register. He did not register means at the time of completion, he should have paid tax. Now, what is the situation? Or he got the agreement registered. I'll once again ask this question. He entered into BTA. He gave the possession. He got the agreement registered in 2018 itself. However, he forgot to pay tax then. He thought on completion he could pay tax. Now, what should we do? One hypothetical situation. What you can do is, in the books, you can plan to show it as stock in trade so that at the time of sale, you can calculate the capital gains tax and pay tax on the business income as well as the capital gains, right? This is some sort of planning which you can do in case some client has already done something, did not disclose to us, and he has come with the registered JDA agreement, right? So with this, I think the questions, most of the questions I've dealt with, and still you want to ask any questions, then you can certainly ask. Welcome to Ram Raghav, my good friend. Any questions that are to be asked, you can certainly ask.
సార్ ఇప్పుడు జాయింట్ డెవలప్మెంట్ అగ్రిమెంట్ ఎంటర్ కాకముందు ఒరిజినల్ పొజిషన్ ఏమో అది ఒక రెసిడెన్షియల్ యూనిట్. సో ఆ రెసిడెన్షియల్ యూనిట్ ని అగ్రిమెంట్ లో మెన్షన్ చేసేట్లు ఏమనంటే మొత్తం డిమాలిష్ చేసి ల్యాండ్ హ్యాండ్ ఓవర్ చేసేటట్టుగా అగ్రిమెంట్ లో మెన్షన్ చేశారు బిల్డర్ కి. సో ఆ సిచ్యువేషన్ లో 54 ఎగ్జంప్షన్ క్లెయిమ్ చేసుకోవచ్చా? Since my intention was to get a new house for an old house.
See, section 54 series of exemptions are independent of 45(5)(a). Whether the tax you pay in 45 subsection 1 or 45(5)(a), 54 series are automatic. Provided is an individual or an HUF, you have only one house, that 2 crores you construct, or the 2 years, 3 years clause, etc. All that is satisfied. It is automatic.
No, sir. At the time of entering into joint agreement, there is a specific recital which says you have to demolish the building and hand over vacant possession of the land only for JDA purpose. That's the requirement of the builder or developer. That being the case, whether 54 will apply or 54F will apply, that's the question.
Sir, whichever section applies, be it 54 or 54F, there are case laws where instead of 54, 54F has been claimed. There is a 1975 circular followed by CIT versus Vegetable Products of the Supreme Court, which says a legal exemption cannot be denied to the SSC for the ignorance of the SSC, on account of ignorance of the SSC. So you claim 54 or 54F without debate. Still, you will have to be given the exemption. With this, having said this, still this demolition of house is a part of the contractual agreement, but what you gave is actually a house. That is only to fulfill the administrative part or the business part of the agreement that you are handing, that you are demolishing the house. But in fact, you are giving that house to him only. So either ways, you can claim under 54. No problem.
No,
54 series of exemptions can be interchangeably claimed in ignorance. And see section 32 depreciation. If you have mistakenly not claimed in your income tax return, there are umpteen case laws which says that is not to be claimed, that is to be given. Independent of the claim, depreciation has to be given. So when a machinery is put to use, there is sale, there is manufacture, and you get to know that there is manufacture. Irrespective of the fact that you did not claim in the statement of total income, you are forced to give, the assessing officer is forced to give the section 32 depreciation. So section 54 series is also same. However, deductions are different. 54 series are exemption. Section 80 are deductions which are claimed, which should be claimed only when you claim. Then they'll get to know that in fact you paid that insurance, or you paid some expenditure, DD, DDB, etc. Right?
with regard to this possession certificate, which is to be issued by the
Members, if you are having any queries, you can unmute and raise your queries.
Sir, Purnachandra Rao, sir, please. Adagant, sir.
Madras, 7 years back, apartments have been completed, and drainage connection has been given, water services have been given, electricity services have been provided. All people are residing there, but they are yet to get completion certificate. Builder is unable to get
Completion certificate.
What is the, suppose one of the apartment buyers wants to sell the property?
They can sell the property.
They have no issue?
No issue, they can sell the property. They will be chargeable under 45(1), because 45(5)(a) will not be applicable, because the proviso 1, there is only one proviso to 45(5)(a), which says if before the completion the landowner disposes of any right in the property, there is no property, there is no completed property. If he disposes of or relinquishes the right in the property, then 247(5) will not apply. 1, 2, 3 relinquishment, extinguishment, etc. will apply, and 45(1) will apply naturally, and capital gains will have to be paid under 45(1), not 45(5)(a).
So 45(1) means we have to go back to the year of registration and the possession handed over to that year, and in that year we have to pay the tax. It may be 2 to 3 years before.
No, that is not the case, because the agreement says on completion, but before completion you are exercising the right to sell. So when is the transfer being made? When is the chargeability to capital gains? When you receive the consideration. When are you receiving the consideration? Not in the year of completion, but before that. You are receiving the consideration. The construction should have been completed in 2024. In 2023 only you are disposing it. You are receiving consideration. So full value of consideration transfer is happening. Transfer is not happening under 247(5), Sujit sir. Transfer is happening under 247 clause 1, 2, 3, etc.
So
Okay.
Here the transfer is, sir, one assessee has got 10 flats in for the JDA, and some of the flats are built. There is only one block, not many blocks. One block. He is promised 10 flats. So 4 to 5 flats are constructed, but the certificate is not obtained because somehow
When
I don't know.
certificate is not obtained, you can't say they are constructed. You still have to say that they are in the construction is in progress for all income tax purpose, for the definition purpose, for the purpose of definition.
Because here at Nellore, the general problem which I am told by the builders is that the completion certificate is not given early. It takes a lot of time. Maybe this BPS, all this deviation they done, maybe after BPS, we can consider it as a completion certificate, because in the BPS certificate, they mentioned that it can be treated as a completion certificate. Okay.
Right.
So
It is
that is
until
not
complete.
happening.
If completion certificate does not happen, it does not relate to our session. It does not relate to JDA. It relates to your normal transaction. Normally, would you want your client to pay tax or not when he sells off a property or right in a property?
Yes.
That's all. That is the answer.
So in the year which these 4 flats or 5 flats are sold, not all the flats, in that year itself I have to pay for 4 to 5 flats. I don't have to go back to the year of JDA.
Sir, will JDA apply? My question is, will 45(5)(a) apply?
Not apply because I have sold.
Then going back to the year of JDA, the question will not arise, because this JDA should have materialized in 2024, but in 2023, before materializing 247(5) transfer, you are materializing 247(1), 2, 3 transfer. Transfer is happening even before.
Okay.
So you have to pay in the year of transfer, no? Simple, you have to pay in the year of transfer.
What is the taxability, sir? For 10 flats, the value of consideration I have to pay, or whatever flats I have sold, what will be the full value of consideration?
The old method is whatever you are getting, how much you are conceding in relation to that proportion you have to calculate. For example, if you are getting totally 10 flats and now we are disposing 4 flats, so you are getting 10 flats under this agreement, right? And in consideration of what? In consideration of giving him, for example, land 5 flats, or land 1/5 share, or 1/15 share for 5 flats, right? That you have to proportionately calculate, equate, and then that cost of acquisition, your full value of consideration, you have to arrive that way.
Okay. So even though the balance flats are not sold and I am not receiving the money, I am paying tax, effectively paying tax on them now.
You are paying tax on the flats that are disposed by you.
Only disposed by me.
Correct.
Not the entire flats which I am supposed to receive.
You are supposed to receive. When do you have to pay? You have to pay in the year of completion of construction.
Yes, sir, but I have violated that condition, right? Before that only I have sold some of the flats.
You have violated 45(5)(a) condition, thereby you are coming out of JDA.
Yes.
Okay, so now the right in a property is yours. You are disposing of the right in the property.
Yes.
You have the Beirut with you, 247.
247. I have to get it, sir, but it will take time.
Okay, so 247 clause 2, extinguishment of right in an asset.
Yes. Okay.
Transfer is happening then and there only. At the time of transfer, do you have to pay or not under 45(1)?
Sir, we have to pay, sir, but here for the entire 10 flats, or the right which I am extinguishing is only for 5 flats.
Only for 5 flats only. 5 flats under 45(1), balance flats under 45(5)(a).
Okay. So for balance flats, I am getting the benefit of 45(5)(a). It will run. So the entire, it is not broken. The chain is not broken.
Sir, 45(5)(a) is not beneficial.
Okay.
Once again, I'm telling you, 45(5)(a) is a very draconian section. It is not at all beneficial. I already told you. Now, once again, for the information of the House, at the cost of repetition, I will tell you pre-45(5)(a) era, what was the full value of consideration? Full value of consideration when out of 4 flats we are giving to the builder, you take 1 flat, give me 3 flats. We only used to treat full value of consideration as 1/4 share in land, because that is what we are giving. So 4 floors is constructing. 1 floor you keep, 3 floors you give to me. First floor is the builder's floor. First floor related site, whatever is 1/4 share in site, that used to be the full value of consideration. Now under 45(5)(a), what is happening? 3 flats and 3 flats related share. This is the full value of your consideration. So do you think you are taking the benefit under 45(5)(a) unless you are exempt under 54 series? No. Right? It is, if you calculate the value, of course you will be getting indexation benefit for the entire site. In 3/4 plus 1/4 site, you will be getting benefit. But still 3/4 value is your full value of consideration. He is saying that 3/4 value he is giving you. In fact, what 3/4 value is yours only, according to you. But 45(5)(a) says, no, you transferred in 2021 only, you transferred the entire site. It is deemed to be transfer. You transferred the entire site. So site is whose? His. Building is whose? He constructed. So what is he giving you? 3/4 share, 3/4 superstructure, 3/4 land. So what is your consideration? 3/4 superstructure, 3/4 land. So 3/4, is it higher consideration, or 1/4 land is it higher consideration? 3/4 land. So 45
consideration.
So 45(5)(a), is it beneficial? No.
Okay.
Because you use the word beneficial, I explained this.
Yes, sir. Because it is only postponing the point of taxability. That's what you are saying.
No, but postponing the point of taxability and also full value of consideration, both.
Okay.
Both change under 45(5)(a). 54 series will not change.
Sir,
so if anyone who is certain of getting the consideration in terms of flats or villas or something, he should not go for 45(5)(a) and take 45(1). Do you mean to say?
So you can do a tax planning. This off the record, I can tell you. What you can do is, whatever you can ask him to pay you some money to give you an advance, and with that you can register the site. You can sell the site. Okay. He will in turn mortgage the same site to you. Right? And for the share of flats, you can adjust that mortgage with that money which is given you earlier. Some sort of some understanding you can create. That is the only possible way.
Okay, sir.
Sir, hope there is no option for 45(a), 5A. But the SSC cannot opt in, opt out.
Exactly. 45(5)(a) is a charging section, madam. It is not like 44AD or 44AE. It is a charging section. It is a straightaway charging section. It's not an option, as you said correctly. It's not an option. For joint development agreement of individual and HF, the government thought it is beneficial and it gave this provision. It wanted to set right the year of taxability with respect to JDA and ended up saying that your full value of consideration is higher. Right. And we have one question, as discussed earlier, if a partner brings immovable property into firm at book value, 56 is applicable or not? Yes, sir, it is applicable. I already explained that 56(10), not 56(10), 56(2)(10) is applicable, sir. Chalpati, sir. 56(2)(10) is a very, if you buy a property, if you bought a property 5 years ago at 10 lakhs and now its sub-register value, is, suppose, say 40 lakhs. You are introducing into the partnership firm at your book value as capital under 45(3) at 10 lakhs. Then is the firm being benefited or not? Yes. 56(2)(10), is it applicable to the firm or not? Yes. Has the firm got to pay tax? Yes. On how much? On 40 lakhs minus 10 lakhs, that is 30 lakhs it needs to pay tax. Straight away how much? 35%. Right? So you have to think, if you want to convert it into stock in trade, convert it into stock in trade. Why? Your capital asset, because capital gains tax gets postponed. Right? If I'm giving you this suggestion, just think of this. If you have a capital asset and you convert it into stock in trade now in your books, do you have to pay tax? No. At what time? When it is disposed. So you enter into a JDA with that and you show it as capital in the partnership firm. You enter into JDA. When is it taxable? When it is completed. You have to pay capital gains tax and also business income in the year of completion. So you are postponing payment of tax. So when you are introducing into a partnership firm as capital, first check if you have to transfer it, if you have to treat it as stock in trade, capital asset as converted into stock in trade under 45(2). Okay.
With regard to my earlier question, which falls
Sir.
under square and section 45(1),
Sir.
I told the apartments have been completed and they were living there for the last 7 years.
Right.
Complete certificate has not been given. One of the couple of apartments I want to sell, which I have to take for calculation of capital gains purpose, date of acquisition. Because I have not received the complete certificate so far. Builder has not given the complete certificate.
Sir,
we are occupying it for the last 7 years. So one of the occupants wants to sell off the property. What is the cost of acquisition? I am the landlord.
What is the date of acquisition on that date? The sub-register or market value?
No, sir.
What is the date of acquisition? Ideally, it should be the date of occupation of the premises or the first electricity bill. Ideally.
In Tamil Nadu, they register only undivided of the land, and the entire balance they take it as construction agreement, other amount.
Right, sir. So in the general parlance, if completion certificate is not issued, yes, then what is the proof of completion of the property? The occupancy certificate or the date of occupation or your first electricity bill. You should, yes, be able to prove, yes, that in 2012 only I occupied, or 2015 I occupied the property. Yeah. So in 2015, what is the value of that property? That should ideally be sub-register value of that property. That should ideally be your cost of acquisition, which has to be indexed now. Right. So seeing no more questions, I hand over the floor back to the chairman of this meeting. Venkat Sheshaya sir, my very good friend. Sheshaya garu, you raised your hand. Evana adagala unmute cheskondi. Unmute lo unnaru kani meedi voice raatledandi. Sheshaya sir, మీ voice రావట్లేదు. మీ వాల్యూమ్ ఇంక్రీజ్ చేసుకో. ఇప్పుడు వస్తాను చెప్పండి. శేషయ్య గారు రావట్లేదండి వాయిస్. రైట్, శేషయ్య గారు పోనీ తర్వాతైనా నాకు మీరు కాల్ చేయండి, నా నంబర్ ఎటు ఉంది కాబట్టి కైండ్లీ. సో ఐ హ్యాండ్ ఓవర్ ది ఫ్లోర్ బ్యాక్ టు ది చైర్మన్.
Thank you, sir. Indeed, very insightful session. Lot of different perspectives and facets of 45(5)A have aroused, and as you said, some of the areas where the tax planning can be done. So I think it needs again a revisit to 45(5)A by all the members, so they can understand it much better, because some more dimensions have been added today. Thank you, sir. Now I hand over the floor to CII Vamsi Krishna.
Thank you, sir. That is a wonderful session. Many doubts has arisen after your session, and also so many doubts has been closed for me. And overall, I think this session is useful to all the branch members. If the members are having any other further queries, I request the members to post it to the Nellore branch website, so that the same can be raised to the faculty and be answered back. So with this, I take this opportunity to thank all the members for your wonderful participation, and also thank our faculty Venkat Narayan sir for his excellent presentation. Have a nice day. Thank you.
Sir, I just shared my number. Yes. I just shared it on the in the chat box. I just shared my number.
Even this number is shared in the WhatsApp Nellore CS group. Please, if it is you logged out and